Joe Biden's victory in the U.S. presidential race is expected to bring a dramatic shift in America's diplomatic landscape. All set to take his presidential oath on the 20th of January next year, Biden promises a world friendlier to America's allies. But will the drastic change alter America's place in world affairs? How will it impact global equations? Let's take a closer look. When the U.S. officially withdrew from the Paris Climate Accord, Biden tweeted that officially in 77 days, the United States will rejoin that agreement. Under Biden, the U.S. will have its most progressive climate change policy yet, as has been promised. Biden has already laid out a $2 trillion clean energy and infrastructure plan and a commitment to rejoin the Paris Agreement, a goal of net zero emissions by 2050. And it aims to achieve a power sector that is free of carbon pollution by 2050 in a country with the largest reserves of coal on the planet. On Sunday, the chief of the World Health Organization, Tedros, congratulated Biden on his victory. The tweet hinted at a joint effort with America as a leader in fighting the COVID-19 crisis. A report indicates that on Monday, Joe Biden will announce a 12-person COVID-19 task force. The coronavirus provided a fight in the presidential campaign race, with Biden pledging to take the pandemic seriously, Donald Trump diminishing the importance of the virus and the threat posed by it. The United States remains the worst affected country due to COVID-19. The next big hurdle for Joe Biden will be facing China and America's ties with Beijing. Throughout his campaign, Donald Trump repeatedly warned that a victory for Joe Biden would be a win for China and that Beijing would own America, quote unquote. And despite the rhetoric, there are no indications suggesting Washington going easy on Beijing. Biden says that he will continue Trump's tough line on trade, theft of intellectual property and coercive trade practices by co-opting with allies. Just like China, Washington's ties with the Kremlin will not see a major change. Biden has pledged to extend the life of the last U.S.-Russia strategic nuclear arms control treaty, and notifying Moscow of his intention to do so likely would be one of his first acts. The new START Act expires 16 days after his inauguration. It will end all restraints on deployments of strategic nuclear warheads and bombers and missiles that carry them, potentially fueling a new arms race. U.S.-Iran ties saw the lowest point under the Trump regime. Donald Trump withdrew from the Iran nuclear treaty and imposed strict sanctions, crippling Iran's economy. Joe Biden promises an attempt to breathe new life into the nuclear pact. Biden promised Iran a way out of those sanctions. Ties with the multinational nuclear deal. The deal was signed when Biden served as the vice president under Barack Obama. On Sunday, the Iranian President Hassan Rouhani called on Biden to compensate for the country's past mistake and re-enter that nuclear agreement. Throughout his presidency, Donald Trump was at loggerheads with the NATO. Trump denounced the NATO as obsolete, threatening America's withdrawal from the organization altogether. The NATO chief congratulated Joe Biden on his victory. He said, and I'm quoting, "I know Mr. Biden as a strong supporter of NATO and the transatlantic relationship," unquote. One of Biden's primary goals will be to build confidence for the U.S. amid the NATO members by vowing to act against Russia's aggression. And among the complications that Biden will have to face now is the relationship with U.S. allies across West Asia. The UAE, Saudi Arabia and Israel might not be too happy with Biden's victory, as President Trump turned a blind eye towards the incidence of domestic human rights violations in West Asia. Joe Biden is expected to take note of the worsening situation in West Asia. Now, whatever action Biden takes affecting the Gulf region or Palestine will be seen as a challenge by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. But Biden is unlikely to reverse the wave of normalization agreements between Israel and sub-Arab countries that Donald Trump achieved over the last few months. On to India now. Much before he became vice president, Biden has been a strong advocate for stronger strategic ties between Washington and New Delhi, and the focus will be the India-US joint action towards China's growing dominance and aggression. During the cross-border tensions between China and India, Donald Trump actively supported and advocated for India. New Delhi expects that its old friend, as they say, will maintain the same stand. Biden's foreign policies seem clear, but will the U.S. actually abide by the same? A Republican majority Senate does not indicate that. The road ahead will be tough, to say the least.